The ability of this forest to sequester carbon is only 7 to 9 metric tons of CO2 equivalent. So if I sell this, I will be getting paid for those tons, 7 to 9 tons. Okay, so I will be paid for 8 tons. Okay, the mean value of my forest. Okay. And at this moment, it's minimal. Okay, you will be getting like around $7 per ton of CO2 equivalent. So 7 times 7, that is $49. Okay, that's like nothing. What can you do with $49 per hectare per year? Okay. So there is this fight against keeping the forest or converting the forest into another use. I could come and cut all this forest and plant beans. I will have a greater return than the $49 that I will be getting per hectare. Now let's do this of a sustainable logging mechanism or improved logging mechanism that I allow people to come and log in forests that are under a carbon credit mechanism. So they are getting revenues from the carbon that their forest is sequestering, plus they are getting revenues from the logs that they are able to extract from that forest. Now most of the people or countries or companies that are venturing into the carbon credit mechanism are taking into consideration logging as well. So that is the big issue right now. No company is venturing into just selling carbon credits. The problem with the Chiquibul is that it is a national forest.
Okay.
And for that to be done, Belize doesn't have the legal framework for a protected area to venture into a carbon credit mechanism. Because that's the other issue with RED, that it has to be area of forest that is under no like conservation mechanism, and this is a protected area. So they regard protected areas as being protected, but that is not the case. So like how it is right now in the RED mechanisms and other mechanisms is that being a protected area, they think that the forest here is protected. Right. And there is no need for them to be paying people to conserve or continue protecting that forest because it is a protected area. But we know that that is not the case. We have more pressure on this forest than if I have a private forest where I could demarcate my land and I could say no one is allowed to enter this forest because it is mine. So it is something that the governments of developing countries are looking at. Suriname, Guyana, Venezuela, Brazil, all these countries are saying, but all of our forests are inside protected areas. And if you want us to conserve these forests, then you have to develop mechanisms so that we could include these protected areas into a carbon credit or a conservation scheme that is being proposed by the international community. Because if we look at our laws, a forest or a protected area, any protected area is supposed to contribute to the national development of the country. So it means they, for that area, need to generate some revenue. But how protected areas stand at the present moment in our country is that they are becoming a sink. You are only pumping money into that protected area. And that adds pressure. There is pressure for forests to be converted into agricultural land. That's why forest reserves in the country are the most threatened category of protected areas. I have to do something in my land. If not, I will lose my property.
And what's the name of the act again?
The Land Utilization Act. Huh. So that adds pressure. If my dad wants to keep his land, he has a pressure. Okay? And the only way he could keep his land is to develop it. Now, he could build a resort, but then everyone that has a forest land building resorts, you have a competition, and then it is only you that will go to your resort. You won't get revenue from building a resort if everyone is building. So he has to find other mechanisms of development. Now, if you have a forest that doesn't have any commercial grade trees, then you cannot do logging. So you start to take out all the things that you don't have in your forest, and the only thing that will stay is for me to come with a power saw and make a clearing in that forest. Plant maybe some orange trees or corn, or make a small pasture for a couple of horses or cattle, and I have my land there. But I have converted it from forest to another use already. That has a huge impact. Now, these carbon credit mechanisms or offsets, whatever name you want to call them, are trying to prevent that. But if I convert my forest into cattle pastures, then I make way more money per year per hectare than the $50 that I get from the carbon credit. Or act, the Forest Act. Now, there are many acts in Belize laws that contradict each other. There are clashes. Okay. Lands Utilization Act clashes with the Forest Act. The Forest Act clashes with the National Park System Act, with the Rural and Urban Development Act. All these acts come to clashes everywhere. Okay. And now, I, as a landowner, I don't own this tree. So who gets the money for this tree? Is it the landowner or is it the government? Common sense will tell me, if I am the owner of this piece of land and I have conserved this forest as a forest for generations, I am doing something. So I need to get that return. But if the law doesn't permit, then the government is the one getting the returns for the efforts that I am doing in my land. It will be central government collecting those revenues. And that is not bad if there was a transparency mechanism that will say, okay, this protected area is producing such amount of money. Now we will invest that money into that particular protected area. You have to include protected areas into the scheme. Okay? But to do that, you have to build a strong case. Okay? And that's why the need to survey your protected areas, set plots, continue to monitor them, because that is the only way you will build a strong case for them to be incorporated.
Right.